but we will continue. So Gold Rocks evolves and goes with the flow. So what Derek and I set out with Gold Rocks, and even before Gold Rocks, was to find the best for everyone. And you'll notice that we've come up with a tagline, everyone goes forward together. That's because what I've always said, if I would do it, I would recommend you do it. But if I wouldn't do it, I'm not going to say to you, oh, go ahead and do it. Okay, so if I'm comfortable doing it, then that's how I would advise someone. They can do it or not, but I'm not going to ever say something that I wouldn't do myself. There we go, everyone goes forward together. So as we find the best way to make use of what we have done, then we benefit. Oh, there's an interesting one. The wealth principles, pay yourself first. I was listening to someone just recently who was describing pay yourself first in a different way to how we've been promoting it. And he actually said, it's not that you pay your workers or you pay your tax or you pay any of the other expenses. You pay yourself first before all those other expenses. It was really interesting listening to him. There should be some ticks coming up. Anyway, establish a residual income has been our goal for decades because that's such a security net to know that the residual income will come in every week, every month, whatever you've designated, but there's the tick. The residual income is reliable, and then no matter what else you do, that will supplement your residual income, and that's what we've wanted. Limit your tax exposure. I've been listening to a couple of guys who are talking about limiting tax exposure because it's all legal. The tax department has given us all these ways to actually reduce our tax. So if we follow all of their prescribed ways, we can legally limit our tax exposure. Because that's probably your biggest expense is your tax. Every week, every month, every year is how much tax you're paying. So to reduce it legally, with all the provisos that the tax department has actually given us, is very comforting. And stay ahead of inflation. That's just the bank's way of eating out more of what you get paid each week. So keeping more of what you earn and making it actually work for you, staying ahead of inflation. We have these wonderful sponsors. They're all around Australia and we thank each of them. BJS Urban, if you wanted a fence done and you lived in Adelaide, he would be the guy to ring. Now obviously he's a long way away, but there'll be more people in Adelaide that we don't know about. ComChoice, you can live anywhere in Australia because ComChoice is about your phone provider and getting some work or your plan, your phone plan through ComChoice. Skippy Pest Control, Mr. and Mrs. Skippy are here, and the great work that they do keeping their pests at bay. Easy Shopping Cards, sorry, your pests at bay. Easy Shopping Cards is the way to get your gift cards. So your Woolworths e-gift cards, your Coles e-gift cards, and then they have about 40 other e-gift cards. And these are the weekly expenses. Sometimes they might be a bigger expense, might be furniture or clothes or something like that you put aside. But your Coles and Woolies is pretty much your fruit and veggies and your groceries every week. And Easy Shopping Cards can give you the gift cards, you put them on your phone, you can actually pay at the counter. Loveday Vehicle Lubricants is a great way to maintain your vehicle, and Surefire Web, he looks after your websites and so on. So when you use any of these services, then you can get 2 to 5% back in what you've spent with them as gold. So that's their commitment to Gold Rocks and you. Why are we here? Learn lots.
This is the video.
This is the latest video.
Welcome to an AU4U presentation brought to you by Gold Rocks. We think this is the best business opportunity we've seen in a very long time. A gold and silver savings program for Australia and beyond. We think you need to know about the true cost of living and where your money goes. The cost of living has risen exponentially over the past 20 years, and the average household income has not done so in any way. Inflation alone is rising faster than the average wage. So let's have a little reality check, shall we? Here in Australia, the average household debt is more than 180% of its total income. Now that's a really frightening number when you see where we all sit in the financial world. But why save gold? Well, since the 1970s, gold has soared by 2,800% in value. And here at Gold Rocks, we think that's something we need to pay attention to. Now let's be clear, gold itself does not change value. What changes value is the currency that we're comparing it with and purchasing it with. So a kilo of gold today buys exactly the same as it did 100 years ago. In 1920, 1 kilogram of gold bought you a top-of-the-line Ford automobile. 100 years later, you would get change for the same top-of-the-line purchase. We're not talking about the fact that the price of gold and silver go up or down. What we're talking about is the fact that the currencies that we're used to using are what it is that fluctuates. Why save in silver? In the same 100-year period, silver has increased by 430%. However, the differential between gold and silver, which has been at historically high levels lately, is absolutely and amazingly out of sync. We believe this is where silver is going to go into its own in the very near future, and you can listen to lots of podcasts that will give you information on projected outcomes with gold and silver. What we're here today to do is to pique your interest in an alternative savings alongside everyday currencies. During that period from 1970 until today, our Australian dollar has lost over 92% of its purchasing power. That is a very bad number, but it's real, so let's ask some of the experts. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, calls gold God's money and silver as the working man's money. Mike Maloney published a series called The Hidden Secrets of Money. It's well worth your researching on YouTube for an education process. It will explain a lot about why we think gold and silver are the two things you should be paying attention to now. Lynette Zhang from Phoenix, Arizona. She's a mental specialist and very blunt. An interesting lady to listen to whenever you get the opportunity to listen to one of her podcasts. Warren Buffett, the world's most successful investor, is now divesting himself of bank stocks to buy gold mining stocks. Goodness, I wonder why, do you think? AU4U has gold and silver bullion savings programs with a powerful referral plan attached. You can swap your dollars for gold or silver bullion, or you can earn in multiple ways by sharing the AU4U concept with others. AU4U stands for gold, for you, and it's Australian, so the AU has two meanings, and you'll see by the colours in the logo that we have silver as well. AU4U has a simple solution. Exchange your devaluing fiat currency into gold and silver, and when it's needed, you can exchange your bullion back into fiat currency. Doesn't that complete the circle? What else really do you need to know? In defining wealth, Henry David Thoreau said, "Wealth is the ability to fully experience life," and that's what I've been attempting to do all my life. Live life to the fullest. I haven't done it all yet, but I'm working on some more things now. The bullion is 999.9 purity LBMA certified, and you can buy it in very small amounts, even less than 1 gram. Just start saving. The value of your savings will be multiplied by the increase in the value of your metal. It's affordable, it's accessible, and it's really we're about today is to get your attention, get the information to you. Start a free savings account. Decide for you yourself. We'll train you, teach you, and support you until you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. We are creating a free, financially secure society, starting with you and me. And if we can manage to do that, we will have made a serious impact on our society. Wouldn't it be nice when you can put your hand into your sock drawer and pull out 5 1-kilo bars of gold just like those? Remember, in 1920, one of those bars would buy you a brand new vehicle, as it does today. Thank you for joining us in this brief presentation. We hope you got some information, and if you have any further questions, please get back in touch with the person that sent you this link. That person will be happy to get your questions answered and explain more about our bullion program and connect you with some information about our digital platforms. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Thanks everyone. We've had just a few minor technical glitches. Minor as in sharpening up the axe. Now then, and someone's using an iPad, that would be Rosu and by the look of the name. The only way to fix that is to stop sharing and reshare it again.
It's a highway. We're heading down a highway, or it's a valley. It's empty valley. Oh, it's gone. You killed it.
There we go. That's what happens when you use tablets. Okay, just a quick note on some of those merchants. In the last few months, Easy Shopping Cards has accrued $11,000 worth of gold bullion for people that have shopped with gift cards. And they started paying it out on Friday to a few people. Some of the gold, of course, will be stuck in transit coming through all of the associated things. Just click on that. Thanks. As we've got to move everything through the remnants of Carapaz Freeway, etc. So a bit of an update. Our supplier, our gold supplier, you need to click on that square again there.
No?
Yep, that's it. 40-year history of bullion. That's pretty cool. SMSF compliant, and the buyback price is based on the current spot price. So we're about to do some transactions with them in the next week to test how all of that works. We've done multiple orders going through the system to make sure that that all works, and it seems to be going along quite well. Gold and silver, both. Some very good. Oh yeah, you got one there? Yep.
That is some silver.
That's a 1 ounce silver coin, and you win one of those.
It's as big as a Scrabble tile.
Okay. You win one of those when you do a fast, what do you call it, Quicksilver, 5 in 5 weeks. Customers, it's completely free for them to join. There's no discount, but it's still cost effective. It's still only about 4 or 5% over the per mint price, and then you pay storage for it. So everything that comes through this system is free storage and free insurance. For affiliates, you get a $300 voucher. That's what you actually buy. I hate the fact that it's a voucher because of our past experiences. However, there are lots of tax reasons why a voucher works. And all of it is redeemable for gold. So once you've been a member for a while and you've redeemed your $300 voucher, you've got your gold bullion, you will have paid nothing to join. There's been some changes which we'll talk about in a second. 3% discount on purchases, that comes with the pack. And now you get $100 worth of gold in the pack instead of 90. That's instant and automatic. So when you buy your starter pack, you pick up $90 worth of gold, $100 worth of gold, and that's one business volume. The rest is redeemable, that'll be $200 now. It's the first qualification for the loyalty bonus. So you have to have one of these packs before you can qualify on the loyalty program. You get access to automatic orders through the loyalty program. All of these dates are completely extendable. So there's no reason why you would ever need to buy another pack. Click Silver, 5 in 5, and you get one of those coins. Now if you do 5 in 5 with 5 brand new people that have not been in our Gold Rocks team before, you get 3 of those coins. 3 ounces of silver. They are very cool coins. And then you click on that square again, Mr. McCoskey.
I'm trying to turn off the video.
Turn it off.
Looking at Margaret Buckingham's nose.
Oh.
I think I stopped it, didn't I?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so the benefits from those packs, it's 10%, level 1, 3, and 2. They're pretty reasonable percentages. Oh, I have had someone say to me, well, what if I want to buy more than a $300 pack? What do I do? Easy, you buy a $300 pack and as many thousands of dollars worth of gold and silver as you want. As simple as that. There's no secret method to buying a bigger pack other than if you want more metal. When people buy gold that you register, you get 2% commission on the gold that they purchase. And the next level down, it's 1%, and the level after that, it's 0.5%. We didn't ever have that before in carat bars. All you got was units in the binary. In the binary calculation, it's 2% of the business volume in your weak leg. You can calculate it every day if you want to check on it. When the new software goes live, that will be on your dashboard every day. You'll be able to see what's coming out at the end of the week. And it's capped at $75,000 a week. And I'll throw in a bottle of bubbly for all the people that get cut off at 75 grand a week. I'll come and help you drink it.
You will too.
Now that number magically matches the number in MTI for their Bitcoin trading. So if you max out both of them, you'll be making a goodly amount of money, at $150K a week. Most of us can squeak by on that. The compensation plan is really straightforward. The lifestyle bonus program, I've put the numbers in today. So you can pick multiple ways to accept the reward. The numbers never go back to 0, so if you win this one this week, next week you start there at 3,000 points. And it adds up to the next one, which is 8,000 points, get the next benefit. So there'll be an option for a prize. The first one is pretty flashed up backpack with wheels, so you can make it a COD bag and charge your phone because it's got a battery charger in the backpack as well, and some travel money in the zipper. This one's a gold watch manufactured by an Australian watchmaker here in Brisbane. Then there's some more. I mean, they're relatively straightforward. When we do the compensation plan booklet, it will be spelt out a bit clearer, so you'll be able to see the different legs. $3,500, 9,000, 35,000, 70,000. They're substantial amounts of money. All of that comes from the sale of gold and silver. So we're not selling any cryptocurrency, we're not selling packs that give you holidays to Hawaii. All of that comes from the sale of metal. Up to and including $700,000. Now there's more past that, and there'll be other rewards coming in the program. We've just got to get it all working first so that everyone understands it, then we can introduce some other bonuses. But there's 2 more levels already past that. They're silly numbers, they're big. All of it comes from the sale of gold and silver. You can take them in any one of those four, or a combination of those four, or the prize at any one of those four. For example, there's a $70,000 one, you could have a car. Or you can take $70,000 worth of gold, silver, Bitcoin and cash all mixed up. Entirely up to you. Getting started, you'll see that we've made one BV $100. So it doesn't matter if the price of the metal goes up or down, it's $100. It's a stable number. Share the value, show people how to get started, and you're underway. Simple as that. You don't have to educate people in the world of cryptocurrency and what happens when the exchange devalues your coin by 90% that you had no control over. Don't care. Simple. Works every time. Now, here's a bit of interesting information. Because regularly at these events we talk about how bad our economy is and what's happening in the world in general that might impact gold and silver. Besides Graham Duck, who knows what LIBOR is? It's the London Interbank Offer Rate. So when two banks get together after 47 whiskies at 4:30 in the afternoon, they decide how much money they're going to charge each other to lend money to each other, to settle all their accounts at the end of the day. Okay? A few years ago, a few of the major regulators began to notice trends in the LIBOR rate. Now this is a percentage that they set to lend money. Why would these trends occur on specific days of the week? London Interbank Offer Rate. Now, this is a statement that was released a little while ago. Why does LIBOR need to be replaced? The underlying market is derived from, is no longer used in any significant volume. Now, what do you think any significant volume might be? How about 300 trillion US dollars a month? And they think that isn't any significant volume. Now, wait for it. Therefore, the submissions made by banks to sustain the LIBOR rate are often based, at least in part, on expert judgment rather than actual transactions. What does that mean? Well, the two blokes that had the 47 whiskies at 4:30, they're slapping each other on the back deciding, in their expert judgment, how much they're going to charge you for your home mortgage. That's how they do it. Gee, does that sound a little bit like some sort of coercion? Well, that began a whole series of implications. Lawsuits, investigations, bankers going to jail. So far, they've been fined more than $9 billion US dollars. So far. Because the LIBOR rate underpins $300 trillion worth of loans. 300 trillion. Now you might have noticed there's been a trend in our events where we talk about the fact that we think currency is going down the gurgle. Fiat currency is going to go by the way of the dinosaur. Okay? Think about that, 300 trillion. They're talking about LIBOR going away. It's one of the mainstays of international banking. The Big Bang Reset, LIBOR. This weekend, they are resetting 200 trillion, remember, not in any substantial amounts anymore, 200 trillion, and they're resetting it to 80 trillion. So $120 trillion will evaporate this weekend. Gone. Now, understanding that we're talking about a $300 trillion transaction, wouldn't you think they'd test it before they did it? They did 2 weeks ago. And guess what happened? The whole banking system crashed in London. OMG, people running around waving their hands, freaking out. Insignificant amount. The reason we didn't hear about the crash is they tried to keep it so quiet because they knew they couldn't fix it. What do you think is going to happen Monday morning in London? Nobody knows. They're hoping that they've taken a guess at what caused the crash and that they will fix it. But they haven't actually come up with how they're going to hide this. $120 trillion has evaporated from the balance sheets of the major banks. 120 trillion. I would reckon, guess and calculate that somewhere along the line, this is going to be the start of what we've been talking about. Currencies going down the gurgle. It is scary when you look at it. Completely out of control. 200 trillion, an insignificant amount of money. Got to click on the square again there. Oops. Yes, very interesting. Now these next two guys, there's about a 10-minute talk here from Kitco News, and it's pretty startling if you haven't listened to any of their information before, but they're well worth listening to. This is Robert Kiyosaki.
Currencies are unstable, and this is the only place that people can turn to in desperate times, says our next guest, Robert Kiyosaki, world-renowned and beloved author, bestseller of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and many other titles. Robert, it's so good to finally see you again. We spoke a couple months ago. Welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, look at gold and silver, precious metals, and Bitcoin. They're the hottest investments you can invest in today. And so I'll be at, the New Orleans Investment Conference, because there's more to gold, silver, and Bitcoin than buying it. They're very sophisticated subjects, and everybody should have as much information, education, and also know who's credible and who's fake in this asset class, gold, silver, Bitcoin.
So why do you think gold is going to replace fiat currency?
Well, because gold is God's money. I wrote in my book, Fake teachers. I hated my school teachers. Fake teachers, fake money, and fake assets. The US dollar is a fake asset. And, people say, well, you're an old guy, why are you endorsing Bitcoin? Because if something has value, like gold and silver, you'll hang on to it. But if you have dollars, US dollars, yuan, pesos, euros, you have to spend them quickly, because they're going down in value so fast. So when I speak to young guys like you or anybody, I said, why would you save something that's losing value faster than you can save it? It's just going down. So what happens is it forces the poor middle class, to buy things. Whereas if you had something of value, you'd hang on to it. So gold, silver, Bitcoin fit into that value class.
Well, let's talk about savings now, because this is one of the issues why millennials, I think, don't understand gold. They rather stash their savings away in whatever savings they have into, fiat currencies. But here's a statistic now, Robert. 60% of Americans don't have enough to cover a $1,000 emergency, and they don't have that much saved up. They don't have $1,000 saved up in their bank accounts. Why do you think savings rate is so low?
Well, and it's gotten worse since then. Because of this COVID phony baloney stuff. But anyway, because when it became fiat currency in August 1571, the dollar was supposed to be spent. You're not supposed to hang on to it, because intuitively, or spiritually, or psychically, we all know the dollar's worthless. And the moment they took gold off the gold standard, you had to move it really quickly, because they were going to print more of it. So I think psychically, intuitively, we just want to get rid of it as fast as possible, because it's worth less and less and less since 1971. So when I meet people, and this is all over the world, who are poor, they somehow psychically or intuitively know the dollar or the peso or the yen or the yuan or the euro is worthless. And then it gets worth less and less. So it encourages people to spend. Whereas Bitcoin, gold, silver, you want to hold on to because it has value. That's the difference.
I think it ties into your overall thesis or philosophy of financial freedom, which you've been an advocate of since, writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you've educated a lot of people with that book. Let's talk about that now. 800 million people, according to McKinsey, 800 million people around the world by 2030 are going to be out of a job because of automation. Robots are going to replace 800 million people around the world. Just in the United States, the report estimates around 30 million people are going to be out of a job just in the US. And 2030 isn't that far away, it's 10 years away. What's going to happen to all these people? What can they learn from Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Well, I like pictures, I flunked out of high school twice because I can't read and write. I can read and write, but I had a acute case of boredom in school. So I just learned to doodle because that was the only way to hold my attention. Well, this is the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, Poor Dad over here, PhD. He went to Stanford, Northwestern University, Chicago. This is Rich Dad here. He had a financial statement. So they're both pieces of paper. Which one's more valuable? So to my poor dad, his PhD was everything. The trouble with my poor dad, he was an honest man, and he used to be a Democrat. And he was in the Democratic machine in Hawaii, the Communist Republic of Hawaii. And he couldn't stand the corruption. Hawaii's one of the most corrupt states in the Union. That's why Forbes magazine called it the People's Republic of America, of Hawaii, because it's so corrupt. So my poor dad ran against his boss, the governor. So he switched parties from Democrat to Republican. Reagan did the same thing. Reagan was a Democrat, he ran as a Republican. Trump was a Democrat and he ran as a Republican. Just because the corruption inside the radical left in the Democratic Party is so high. I'm not Republican or Democrat, you can vote for who you want. But you look at the people who shifted parties. So when my father shifted parties, he lost his job. He was head of education for the state of Hawaii. The governor basically fired him. He said, "You'll never work in the state again." And his PhD was worthless. So I come back from Vietnam about the same time in 783, and my old man's unemployed. And my poor dad says to me, "Go to school, get a job, and get your PhD." And I said, "That's what you did." And my rich dad says, "You better understand this is called financial literacy. Can you read a financial statement?" And 99% of our politicians cannot.
Well, I think a lot of the people in this study, they predict are going to be, out of their job because of robots replacing them. They're mostly blue-collar workers who, unlike your poor dad here that you talked about, didn't get a PhD, they didn't go to college maybe. And so wouldn't the argument be that you should go to college, go get a white-collar job, and you won't be replaced by a robot?
Well, it's going to happen anyway, and what's happening is the robots are going to eat their way up the ladder.
Yeah, all right.
Already, if you're a radiologist, you're a medical doctor as a radiologist, they don't need you. Because the algorithm inside artificial intelligence can do a better job of analyzing your X-ray. And then you look at, I was a pilot, right? And so all my peers, they got jobs. One flew for Northwest, one flew for Eastern, and one flew for United. They all lost their jobs. And they were in the prime of life. And then what happened is the pensions of the pilots were stolen. So my peers, when we were in the prime, they were just hitting like 58, 59, and the company folds on them. So they're pilots. Who needs a pilot? Do you know what I mean? There were so many pilots out there. And so the thing is, what's going to happen in 2021 is the driverless trucks hit the road. And there's 3.5 million truck drivers in America alone. You think of the ripple effect of that. That's 3.5 million families, truck stops, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's just, the ripple effect is massive. But the capitalists like me, I'm going to make a lot of money because, the trucks don't have to stop, they can just run. They don't need to rest them and all this stuff. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff, but if you're a working class, you're host, you're finished. You're a doctor.
How many union jobs are going to be eaten up by robots in the next few months? A lot. 3 million truck drivers in America have already been given notice that their jobs are being replaced. And as he said, as the capitalists, the people that own the trucking companies, they're actually going to make more money because the trucks don't need to stop. They don't need a driver rest period. About 3 years ago, I watched a series of YouTube videos where they were actually running the first over-the-road, what they call over-the-road trucks in America. So they would put a driver in the truck and take it to the edge of town on the edge of the freeway, get out, shut the door, walk away. And the truck went off to the edge of the town where it had to go, and it waited for someone to come and get in. They had no drivers in those, they had 3 of them at the time, there was no drivers in them between the cities. That's scary. That's what we're talking about. The value of the dollar is going down stupidly. Absolutely stupidly. I tried to fit in some video footage today from a guy who broadcasts from Brisbane, who talks about the rate of inflation, and the government thinks it's 0.3% or something like that. A little bit hard to see how that's real when you look at things like flights on airlines today have gone up by 40% because they're trying to stay afloat. So if airlines have gone up by 40% and the food that we're buying has gone up ridiculously because of the labour issues, how can inflation be 0.2%? Absolute nonsense. So here's this guy talking about cotton and China. This guy broadcasts
China bans Australian cotton. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee because it looks like, well, China is now putting pressure on the Australian cotton industry. We have a look at this article from ABC News. So, Australian cotton, the latest casualty in the trade tensions with China. We've seen other industries that are being impacted, coal, one particularly important one, just waiting for iron ore to be impacted as well. And there were all the other resources, even regardless of actual government interventions in China, we saw just the reduction in the lobster industry over in Western Australia. It was so dependent on the Chinese market that when demand crashed due to their restrictions and the fact that Chinese New Year holidays weren't really happening, it really was felt over here. And the potential impact that's going to have on the Australian economy or what states it will impact. So let's have a look, with that in mind, at this latest article. Is this more political posturing coming out of China, or is it just a sign that their recovery hasn't returned, the demand for their cotton products isn't quite where it once was, or are they just trying to put pressure on Australia? Because I mean, a lot of the gin factories over here, they're owned by the Chinese too. So, Australia's cotton industry is bracing for what could be a devastating blow as it becomes the latest casualty in the escalating trade tensions with China. Mills in China are being told to stop buying Australian cotton as speculation grows that a hefty tariff is about to be slapped on the trade. Government sources have told the ABC the cotton industry could face tariffs as high as 40%, a sanction that could make the trade with China unviable. Under China's current trade rules, the Chinese government determines how much cotton each mill can import through a quota system. But the ABC understands spinning mills have been warned not to use Australian product or risk their quotas being slashed. Without the government endorsement, these mills could be forced to pay 40% more to buy Australian cotton. So it would be taken very seriously. Trade Minister Simon Birmingham has confirmed he's aware of concerns China might be set to impose changes on the trade and is seeking more information from Australia's largest trade partner. Now they are our largest trade partner, but as I've shown here, unless this has changed in the 2 years since this data was gathered, they're not our largest cotton destination. Hopefully the farmers will be able to pivot to new sectors, but then again, you can't really take a huge hit to 25% of the sector and not feel it. So impeding the abilities of producers to compete on a level playing field could constitute a potential breach of China's international undertakings, which will be taken very seriously by Australia. Are we really so naive to think that China gives a damn about their international undertakings and their WTO commitments? Come on, it's ludicrous to think that. It's ludicrous. Come on, really? Federal Agricultural Minister David Littleproud said the government had not received any official word of changes to the cotton trade with China, and conceded his government was having difficulties getting answers from Beijing. Obviously, we would prefer that our dialogue continues to enrich, but you can only resolve differences by actually having your hand out and being prepared to have that conversation, he said. We are showing leadership as an Australian government and are prepared to have that conversation. The Australian industry has become increasingly nervous about the $800 million market, which typically accounts for 65% of the cotton grown nationwide. Okay, so if we look here, since this data, it was only 263 million. Wow. So has it grown that much? Yeah, has it grown that much? That's insane in the last few couple of years. Well, okay then. We're in a much worse position than I anticipated. So it's grown. Since 2008, it was 263 million. Now, they're saying 800 million, guys, in 2020. 2018 to 2020. 2 years. 2 years. How have we gotten into this situation? How have we got? And what have we thrown all this money into? What's it all gone into? Bloody houses. Property. Oh, we're... oh boy. In a statement released today, Cotton Australia and the Cotton Shippers Association said the industry was trying to understand apparent changes to export conditions. It has become clear to our industry, and the National Development Reform Commission in China has recently been discouraging their country's spinning mills from using Australian cotton, the statement said. Our industry is working with the Australian government, including the Trade and Agricultural Minister's Office, to investigate the situation and further understand what is going on. So nothing is in writing. Well, we've seen nothing was in writing with regards to coal, and yet BHP have now confirmed that they're seeing orders being deferred. It doesn't have to be in writing, does it? Cotton Australia Chief Executive Adam Kay has told the ABC he fears the industry could be affected by broader trade tensions affecting other Australian commodities. We're concerned that we're getting caught up in that, Mr. Kay said. We've certainly been working very hard to make sure all the procedures and protocols and paperwork have been perfect, because we know there's some tension there, but this has come out of the blue. At the moment, there is nothing in writing, it's all word of mouth. So that's what we need to get to the bottom of. Littleproud talks up other options. Well, okay, you can talk up other options, but look at this delta change now. They've grown from 263 million to 800 million in just 2 years. What other options are there when there's economic decline all over the world? Minister Littleproud said the government is working quickly with the industry to understand the scale and veracity of the situation. But he also scrutinized Australia's trade credentials, including new free trade agreements with emerging markets. Already, they consent into Indonesia, where a free trade agreement was ratified a couple of months ago. India and also Vietnam take significant amounts of our cotton. Indonesia, I mean, they're 3.4%. So unless they've grown significantly too in the last few years, from 35.9 million, I can't imagine they're at the level that China has been. The industry at the moment believes there's around a $30 per bale cut to the current price, which takes it down to $500 a bale, which is still profitable to producers around the country. I'm pleased to say we will continue to explore other markets, but we would prefer to have a trading relationship that is fair, open and transparent with our Chinese counterparts. I think that's a little naive from our leaders to be expecting that. This is just another tool for political influence. Cotton Australia and the Cotton Shippers Association said the industry relationship with China was long valued and respected. To now learn of these changes for Australian cotton exports to China is disappointing, particularly after we've enjoyed such a mutual beneficial relationship with the country over many years, they said. Despite these changes to our industry's export conditions, we know Australian cotton will find a home in the international market. Earlier this year, China introduced hefty tariffs on Australian barley and suspended beef imports from several Australian abattoirs. It has also launched an investigation into allegations of dumping by the Australian wine industry. So there we have it, everyone. There we have it. Is China going to ban Australian cotton? Will that be next on the list? What do you think? And the impact on the New South Wales and Queensland economies. What's going to happen to those regional areas? And $800 million, such a growth in such a short amount of time. Do you think we can find replacements that quick in a global recession?
How much of the $800 million worth of cotton do you think has grown in New South Wales and Queensland? Over 95% of it. It all comes from the border area here in Queensland and northern New South Wales, irrigated mostly. That's a big hit to our economy. When you add that to what we're seeing happen in other economies around the world, who knows what the outcome's going to be. It's not going to be real pretty. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So, welcome to 2020. Don't worry, we've got gold, baby. Look at that. On those coins. Where is that coin floating about? Oh, it's alright, it's going to frisk Rod before he leaves, just in case. So, here's our flu gold prices, down a little bit. It's still showing 22.6% for the year. One of the best things going. And watch it for the breakout. There's also a move Lynette Zhang talked about, along with LIBOR being removed. They're removing the ability for most banks to trade gold and silver on futures contracts. So the way they manipulate the price now of the metal is to issue more contracts, and then at the end of the period they don't want to supply the gold, so they issue another contract. So it's a never-ending cycle of producing more and more contracts that aren't real. And that's what manipulates the price. But we're dealing with real physical gold and silver. And that's very different to paper contracts. And we look forward to helping you do that. Now, the last couple of days we've had innumerable emails and queries and phone calls from people about what's happening with the KBC market, because the 15th was a few days ago. Hands up if you thought it was all going to be done on the 15th. Yeah, wrong answer. Right, here's where we're at now. If you go into your current bid account, go to your reduction plan, you'll find these squares over on the end. That's the change that's happened in Carrot. Tell you some other dates in a moment. So what you do is click on that and it brings up this screen and tells you that's what you're starting with, that's what you're going to end up with. Shows all the bonuses that you've got along the way. Now notice, is there somewhere on there that you can tell me how much money that's going to be worth?
I know how much it is.
Don't you start.
Come on the zeros there.
So, this is the reduction in number. What they haven't shown us yet is what the new G999 coin will launch at. So when you click on the button and go through that process, notice down here it says it's an irreversible action like they always say. When you click on it and say accept, the button goes away. So you've now created a code to remove that amount of KBC and turn it into a G999 coin. There's some catches. First of all, you need a G999 wallet. But when you go back after you've gone through the reduction plan part, you then go over here to migration codes and it shows you the code for that amount of G999. Now you will need a G999 wallet. And yes, it's yet another pile of KYCs. However, they are giving away G999 coins to the people that do it. So you get 999 coins when you do your KYCs. Any questions on that up till now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am?
I just need to know from A to Z. I'll talk
Yeah.
to you later.
Well, at this
That makes
point,
all of us.
everybody in the room right now is exactly at the same point I am, because we only got this information yesterday. And trying to get answers is just appalling, absolutely appalling. So there's two next steps we've got to do. You've got to have a G999 wallet, and then you've got to have the GS Trade package organised. So they're doing away with CaratBit. The new one is the GS Trade. But this is what the G999 wallet looks like. This is a little video on how to set it up.
Hello, this is John Rawnsley, independent affiliate for Freebay, and today I'm going to take you through G999 web wallet registration. So first things, I've gone to Telegram and I've got the URLs down there. So click on the web wallet URL, and that should open up a brand new browser page. Now we're going to go and create a wallet. This is going to be a dummy wallet for everybody to see. So you go through the steps and it gives you a 24-word seed. Now you need to take note of these 24 words and you need to write them down, keep them safe, don't put them on a computer, and I would potentially write them down on paper and put them in a safe, because this is access to your coins, your G999 coins. Very important. Once you've done that, click Next, and this will then allow you to enter the codes back. So we're entering the codes back here. Now, if you look at number 11, it's spelt wrong, so it won't actually allow me to validate because one of the words is wrong, which to me is good because it proves that the seed is working and that everything is right. So go back and we'll change the word dinosaur and spell it correctly, and then click on the validate button, and all of a sudden it gives us access to this wallet. Click on the access to the wallet and you will now have a QR code. You'll also have your hash, which is your wallet address, and everything is there. You'll be able to see at the bottom transaction histories once you put G999 in there, and that's there. Nothing's going into this wallet. As I said, this is a demo wallet. Quick training for you. Thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to catching you on the next one.
Now, did you notice all 24 of those words? At the moment, the only way you can log into that wallet is to retype all of those words. I don't think it's going to stay that way for very long. I don't know anyone that's going to put up with it. You can't copy and paste? Yeah, all 24 of them, one at a time. Good thinking, tried that. No. So this is what the wallet looks like, and it's a crypto wallet. I mean, there's the blockchain addresses here, so you can send and receive from this wallet. You can't trade in this wallet. You can send and receive in it, that's all. So I'm not sure, I noticed that he talked about being a trainer for Freebay, but that actually doesn't have anything to do with Freebay that I can find. At this point, it looks like you can go from CaratBit to G999 without having anything to do with Freebay. At this point, I wouldn't trust it to stay like that. The next thing you need to do is you need to have the new CaratBit set up, GS Trade, Gold Standard Trade. I'm not sure where they got so creative. It was a bit like everything was Carat before. So this is the trading platform, looks pretty familiar. You've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, USD, Tether, and G999. Now, the way that's laid out, you're going to be able to trade between all of them. We just don't know what this coin value is going to be. As soon as we know that, we'll know where we can trade out of it and put the Bitcoin where we want it. We can put Bitcoin into MTI, you can convert it to money and buy gold and silver, you can use Bitcoin to pay for gold and silver, you can do whatever you like with it. But I can't personally wait to get outside of that system. Every single day they just cause me more heartburn. But we're determined that we're going to get the best value we can for everybody in transitioning out of that system. Anybody that wants to stay with Freebay, good luck. I'm staggered when I look at the complexity of what they've put together and what they're expecting people to do. So, trading will begin on the 15th of December. It was the 15th, it's just that I didn't actually really clarify the month. Now, this is a copy and paste. Dear community, we want that our users to be educated before using the G999. Jinglish, coins and blockchain system. So they're giving away 999 coins for the people that get set up to Gold KYC level. Now, this training dude had a video about how to do that. Took it down yesterday because they've changed the rules again. I'm not sure that I've mentioned this before, but I cannot wait to be outside of that system. So this is, they call it an educational airdrop, and in technical terms that means they're giving you a task to do, get the gold KYC, and they drop in 999 coins, over free coins.
We don't know how much they do.
Don't have a clue. Who knows? But we'll use them in MTI or whatever people want to do with it so they can get value out of it. To me, the value is getting our coins out, whatever the price is, and getting it somewhere where we can do something with it. Because at the moment, they're just sitting on our money. And it's getting further. Oh, now we're talking about December. What a surprise. A year from when it was all supposed to happen. Anyway, don't get me started on that. So previously we had Carrot Bit. That's what we were using before, and we now have MTI. Mr. McCloskey, you are the system specialist for this technical side of it. You need to talk.
Quicker. Right then. We need to go backwards. We need to go back to what was here. That one. That's the one that's the most interesting to me. Gonna get these things into here, and then as fast as humanly possible, I'm gonna make them into that. And then, whoop, we're gonna go visit these people. MTI. For those of you who don't know about MTI, it's a Bitcoin trading company. It's based in South Africa. Been trading for approximately 18 months now. It averages about 10% per month, which is a lot better than what we've been achieving recently from wherever we are. There's zero fees to get in, zero fees to get out, and it doesn't cost anything to set up. The only way that they make money is if they make money for everyone else. Now, I don't know of anywhere, anything on the face of the planet that does that. Well, it's very attractive. So, what I did do was I sat down and I done some supposition. Let's assume that if you only had enough and didn't know anybody else on the face of the planet, and you took advantage of their one only income stream being their actual trading. Meaning, you're going to deposit an amount of Bitcoin, and then you're going to sit back and do nothing. Purely and simply allow the trading process of MTI to go away, make their money, come back and reinvest it. I've done these, I've done these calculations based on a daily return of 0.4%. Our investigations are showing they're averaging 0.5%. So I've understated it a little bit just to be on the safe side. They have a maximum trading capacity, because they trade Monday through Friday, of 260 days a year. So I've taken 3 days off, the public holidays, sickies, and anything else that comes along. So that I've only allowed in these figures for 257 days of trading. So, what we're going to do is first year we're going to put in $230 US into the Bitcoin. Okay. And then it's going to go away, and you're going to do nothing. All you're going to do is sit there and watch the little thing every day. You're going to go there, open it up, see what they do, blah, blah, blah. After 141 days of trading at 0.4% compounding, you end up with, you've just turned $230 into $400.60. 220 days, 257 days. So your first year, got a 275% growth, which is not bad. That's the time that's elapsed from when they said that the other mob said that they were going to do something until they actually do something. 12 months, you could have made 275% on your money. So what happens if you rolled it all over and did it into the second year? So you rolled over your $636. 141 days, it's now $1,100 bucks. $1,500. At the end of the second year, it's $1,761. All you have ever put in there is $230. 775% of growth in 2 years. I always wondered where some of these sites got their cricket scores of percentage rates, and I took a lot of them apart, and none of them stood the test of maths. This one does. These maths are all my maths. So, third year, you've done nothing. All you've simply done is put in 2 years ago, $230. And so you roll it over, 3,000, 4,000. At the end of the third year, it's $4,875. A growth of 2,125%. Not bad. What happens if it actually does attain 0.5% instead of the 0.4 that I've calculated on? Your first year is 820 instead of 636. Your second year is 2,900 instead of 17. Your third year is 10 grand compared to 4,800. So 0.1% makes a big difference. I mean, a tiny little amount. But it is the 8th man-made wonder of the world, compounding interest. $10,000 for those of you who don't do any binary. I am sure by the time you're turning over that, someone's going to listen to you. 10 grand in the system gives you your unlimited binary aspect of your benefits, another source of income. One of the videos that I've been intently watching on the MTI training progress is how that system is working. This particular chap is making more out of that than he is out of everything else. So that was a little bit of a... Oh, I killed him.
Touch the black screen. The black screen, little black screen thing on it.
I murdered him. Give me a toy and I killed him.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't work.
Maybe broken.
Killed it. Battery time.
You're shout, you gotta shout the bar now.
I only pushed one button wrong. It stopped transmitting.
I have a question then.
Yes.
So the reinvesting of the profits,
Happens
is that
automatically.
automatic?
All you've ever done on this entire scenario is once you made a deposit of $230
Of Bitcoin.
US in Bitcoin value. That was the only thing you ever did. You did nothing else. The MGI system, as far as trading is concerned, does everything for you. It goes away, your money goes into the pool, it's traded, the profits of that is returned to you, and you're paid out proportionally to your share level of the pool, and automatically reinvested for the following day's trade. It does that Monday through Friday. And then the following week, it does it again. And it just doesn't stop. I've stopped it at a 12-month calendar cycle just for the process of having somewhere to say, this from this point to this point, this is how much you've earned. And that point being 12 months. That's all I've done in this instance. And those figures were all at 0.4%, which aren't too bad. I'll be working here. Here we go. You're a good man. Okay. Now, the binary section is a completely different kettle of fish, which has absolutely nothing in. I haven't added any of these calculations in. I haven't even got to a point where perhaps you had a really good week and you slipped an extra $20 or something in there. This is one time only, $230 US in Bitcoin in the front end, and that's what you've done. Now push the right button this time. Yay! Now let's be really silly and see what happens if you leave it in there for a fourth year at 0.5%. Not bad, is it? $37,248.70. Don't forget the 70 cents. That's a weekly income. If you stopped it there, and at the end of each week's trading, you put in a claim, you can draw down $1,317.14 in Australian dollars by way of a weekly income. That's after 4 years. I mean, it's not going to get you to China and back, but it will pay your fuel bill.
So that's roughly 500 AUD dollars we have to start with, isn't it?
Yes,
350. 330.
Yeah.
That's 300.
$230 USD is about $320 odd. Roughly. I'm guessing.
Thank you.
This calculation here was done at the conversion rate the other day, which was 70 cents in the dollar.
Yeah.
So that's down a bit. So normally we're up around 73, so that's down a little bit. So if it's back up around 73, your pay rate's gone up a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can get through this transitional period from one debacle, get out of that, get into here, and come out with something a little bit better. If you put in $500 US dollars, it basically doubles. It is slightly higher than double. So these figures are based on 230. If you put in 460, the figures are slightly higher because of the freakish thing of compounding interest. It is a wonderful little animal. So that was what I did for an hour and a half, sat down and ran a spreadsheet, worked it all out. So that's not a bad plan for 4 years. I know it's not gonna set the world on light, but if you double that, and now you're putting up $2,600 a week, okay, now you are starting to talk about some serious bucks. And keeping in mind, I haven't added anything into this, not 1 cent extra than the actual $230 4 years previously.
US.
How much you have for income tax?
Income tax. Income tax is like all income tax. The minute you start drawing it down in this income, believe me, the taxman's going to take his tongue. There are ways and means of getting around paying children taxes. Legally, there's all sorts of things that you bring it back through company structures and so on and so forth, and do all sorts of weird local things. But at the end of the day, if you are an Australian citizen living here in Australia, income tax is one of the animals that we live with. Any other
If you're
questions?
getting that kind of money, you should be able to pay it anyway.
Sorry?
If you're getting that kind of money, you should be
Well,
able to pay some.
let's take $1,300, you're probably paying about 33 cents in the dollar tax. Okay, I've got to go down to the mail, to the mail, part of my affiliated business. I'm making an income, I'm claiming that they're taking it. So it's got tax deductibility. Yeah? So the fuel, the time and effort running down to get the mail, to get that jolly bill for the paying taxes is a tax deduction. So you're probably going to get it down to something around about 17 cents in the dollar, something like that. At that rate. Any questions? No? Cool.
This will be on again tomorrow night and stuff.
Sorry?
This will information be on that thing tomorrow night.
If they can get it to work.
Will it?
Yeah, you'll go.
I'm just one of the things that push buttons, he drives it. Right, so just in winding up, we've got a little video. And we'll have a look, see. There we go.
It's been the privilege of my life for 30 years to have been taught everything of value by game members. And in the last few years, they taught me how to text, and so I'm really grateful to them because I find it sure beats the heck out of actually talking to people. And I'm pretty dexterous at it, LOL and OMG and BTW, and the homies have taught me a new one, OHN, which apparently stands for, oh hell no. And I've been using that one quite a bit lately. My alma mater, Gonzaga University, called me and said they were going to have a big talk on a Tuesday night with 1,000 people. And so I said, sure. And they said, can you bring 2 homies with you? And I always pick homies who have never flown before, just for the thrill of seeing gang members panicked in the sky. I've never picked anybody more terrified of flying than this guy, Mario. He was just absolutely petrified. In fact, he was hyperventilating. And we hadn't even boarded the plane yet. And then our flight crew arrives, and I see 2 flight attendants, females, and they both have very large cups of Starbucks coffee, and they're schlepping up the front steps. And Mario goes, when are we going to board the plane? I said, as soon as they sober up the pilots. I should tell you that Mario, in our 30-year history at Homeboy, is the most tattooed individual who's ever worked there. His arms are all sleeved out, neck blackened with the name of his gang, head shaved, covered in tattoos, forehead, cheeks, chin, eyelids that say the end, so that when he's lying in his coffin, there's no doubt. And so I'd never been in public with him, and we're walking and people are like this, and mothers are clutching their kids more closely. I'm thinking, wow, isn't that interesting? Because if you were to go to Homeboy on Monday and ask anybody there who's the kindest, most gentle soul who works there, they won't say me, they'll say Mario. He sells baked goods at the counter at our cafe. He's proof that only the soul that ventilates the world with tenderness has any chance of changing the world. So the nighttime talk comes and it's 1,000 people, and I invite them up to share their stories in front of all these people for 5 minutes each. They were terrified, but they did a good job. Honest to God, if their stories hadn't been flames, you'd have to keep your distance, otherwise you'd get scorched. I invite them up for Q&A, and I said, yes ma'am, and a woman stands and she says, yeah, I got a question, it's for Mario. First question out the gate. Mario steps up to the microphone, he's tall, drinking water, skinny, and clutching the microphone, and he's terrified. Yes. And she says, well, you say you're a father and you have a son and a daughter who are about to enter their teenage years. What advice do you give them? What wisdom do you impart to them? And Mario clutches his microphone and he's just terrified and he's trembling and he's getting a hernia trying to come up with whatever the hell he's going to say. When finally he blurts out, and he stops. And he retreats back to his microphone clutching, terrified retreat. But he wants to get this whole sentence out. I just don't want my kids to turn out to be like me. And there's silence until the woman who asked the question stands, and now it's her turn to cry, and she says, why wouldn't you want your kids to turn out to be like you? You are loving, you are kind, you are gentle, you are wise. I hope your kids turn out to be like you. And 1,000 total perfect strangers stand, and they will not stop clapping. And all Mario can do is hold his face in his hand, so overwhelmed with emotion that this room full of people, strangers, had returned him to himself, and they were returned to themselves. And I think you go from here to stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And you stand with the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. And you stand with those whose dignity has been denied, and you stand with those whose burdens are more than they can bear, and you stand with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. Make those voices heard.
There we go. It's a pretty cool little video, isn't it? So it just tied in with our slogan. I thought it was very good. So we're going to do our very best to make sure that through this transition nobody gets left behind. I know that's going to be hard. I know we're going to have some stress.
No more than we've already had.
We've had some amazingly stressful days and nights, but we have such an opportunity now that we have control of the business rather than negotiate with someone on the other side of the planet that doesn't want to be nice. We have control of where the bullion is. We have control of where the silver is. We have control of what we do with our digital assets. We didn't have any of that before. We're in a good space. So thanks for coming today. Apologise for the technical difficulties. I think we've finally got to a point where we need a new laptop, and we'll have to go and do that tomorrow. See if we can make it work. So thanks everybody for coming. We're going to loiter about. That'll take a while to save the video, but travel safely on the way home.
So